All right, for more on this, we are joined by Jonathan Turley, a CBS News legal analyst and constitutional law professor at George Washington University. Good to see you.
Thank you.
So the president tweeted, "No collusion, no obstruction, complete and total exoneration." The report does not say a total exoneration. It specifically mentions that the president is not exonerated of obstruction. Why do you think that Robert Mueller used that specific language, as was asked of Jay Sekulow, and why do you think that he didn't just say everything that the president is saying in that report? Because the attorney general could have also said, look, this is a complete exoneration.
Well, first of all, I actually disagree with that aspect of the report. I think that the obstruction claim in this case is remarkably weak. I don't know of any prosecutor that would take this obstruction case to trial. I mean, you don't have an underlying crime. That doesn't mean you can't obstruct. You know, the president almost did the impossible. He almost obstructed a non-crime. He's like the guy that runs every time a car alarm goes off, you know, and you're like, well, why were you running? And he says, I don't like car alarms.
Right.
I mean, the problem is that there was conduct here that was highly inappropriate, but that doesn't make this a strong criminal case. In my view, Mueller should have just said that. Barr and the Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein, both said, we don't think this is a case of obstruction. Now, does that mean that he's exonerated? Of course not. Our standard for presidents is a little higher than I wasn't charged with a felony. You know, there's John Gotti over here and I'm over here. You know, that's not the standard. In terms of exoneration, people look at your conduct as president. And the conduct is not good. What the president did was highly inappropriate. It does look like obstruction, you know, in terms of some of these elements, but it wasn't criminal obstruction. That doesn't mean that he's exonerated. And I think that the question is whether the president has learned anything about his habit of counterpunching. He almost counterpunched his way into an obstruction case. That's not easy when there's not an underlying crime.
Mm-hmm. So to that, impeachment. Clearly, committing a crime doesn't necessarily always lead to impeachment.
Right.
And impeachment doesn't always need a crime sort of as its grounds because we have a higher bar for our president. But with this report, this conclusion, does this sort of mean that the option for impeachment is probably off the table? The Democrats sort of lose their legal and perhaps ethical support with the Mueller?
Well, you're absolutely right. It doesn't mean that an impeachment is not possible. It is possible, looking at the report, to say that there's impeachable conduct here. That's up to the House of Representatives and ultimately the Senate. It makes it more difficult. I was the last lead defense attorney in an impeachment trial, the Porteous trial, that went before the Senate, including Senator Klobuchar. My opposing counsel was Adam Schiff. And the one thing I would note about that is, first of all, if you're going to get something like that off the ground, you're running out of runway. I mean, the Porteous case was viewed as a relatively simple case. He was unanimously impeached by the House of Representatives. It still took 17 months. I mean, Schiff and I finished that trial after 17 months. So the clock's running. If they really want to go towards something like impeachment, they need to be changing what they're doing. They are not building an impeachment case. And quite frankly, I don't think the Democrats want to remove him. I think they want to wound him, but they don't want to kill him.
So so I have two questions, Jonathan. One, this idea that the president did not actually testify to Robert Mueller. They let him submit answers, written answers to questions. I wonder how that played into all of this, and would we have seen a different outcome had the president testified? And the reason I ask that is because perhaps this is what a lot of people who support President Trump have always said. They've said, look, he's not a typical politician. The way that he speaks, the way that he talks, the relationships that he has with people are very New York City real estate developer based, where he says, hey, you know, James Comey, you know, he's a good guy. What are you going to do? He's an idiot. I don't like him, but like, can you see your way to helping him out? And that's not really an obstruction.
No, I think you're absolutely right.
I'm talking to him when he says idiot, I mean Comey. So people don't yell at me and say the president is not an idiot. I meant that the president is talking to James Comey and saying about Michael Flynn, can you let him go?
Yeah, well, look, I'm a criminal defense attorney, and I'll tell you that I think this would be an easy case to defend because this isn't a departure off the baseline norm for Trump. He has said equally inappropriate things on other subjects. He's not someone that has shown a great deal of circumspection on North Korea, the wall, immigration. His statements about immigration on Twitter were used against the administration in a couple of cases that went against him.
The Muslim ban.
Right. So he wasn't obstructing in those cases. The question is really, has he learned from this? But also for some of his critics, they have to learn as well. 2 years ago or so, I said, look, I don't think there's going to be obstruction or collusion charges in this case. First of all, there is no crime of collusion, and second, I just don't buy it. I don't think that this was a conspiracy of collusion. I have too much respect for Russian intelligence. I mean, do you really think Russian intelligence was going to collude with Donald Trump and put themselves one tweet away from disaster? I just never bought that.
I believe that's what, I think that was actually the defense from the Russians.
Right, yeah.
That, we wouldn't get caught if we did it.
Right, but that's the other thing, and I know that it's going to be hard throughout the course of the next couple of weeks to focus on this, but the report does say there was an attempt by the Russians to meddle in the 2016
no question.
election.
Yeah, that's a foregone conclusion.
Yeah, they say that.
On both sides of the aisle.
Right, and so people need to remember that that is
No, the
happened,
Russians
and
wanted to help Donald Trump be elected. They're clear about that. Just they didn't conspire to do it.
That's right. Jonathan Turley, great to have you. Thank you for stopping by.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.